team.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is Tuesday, January 9th. Second chart talk of the year coming at you. After the first week of the year, we got some selling, and it put a damper on the mood that ended the market of 2023. We went off 52-week highs. Everything was ripping. Everything was very overbought, but, after 2 months of straight ripping, everyone's still pretty cheerful in the market. So we get that first pullback last week, and it's like, is this the start of a huge market turn? That's the number one thinking. Are we about to see a 10% correction, or is this one of those 3 to 5% pullbacks before we continue with the uptrend? And so far this week, 2 days into the week, we've had confirmation that it is just a 3 to 5% pullback. Stocks are reacting very, very well to the upside. It's tough to be bearish with the action we've seen this week. Seeing how that pullback was just so viciously bought up, and risk names were really taken to the upside. Semiconductors were the sector last year that led the entire year. Obviously, Nvidia. And what did it do this week? Broke out to all-time highs. Broke out of an 8-month base, I think it was. Ripping to new all-time highs. So yes, the stock is overvalued. Yes, the price to earnings are ridiculous. Yes, all these things. But what happened this week? It proved that it's still in an uptrend and that the buyers are still in control. And anyone who has ever shorted that thing, ever in its history, is losing money. So that is just information. The market is screaming that it's still taking this AI, this risk trade higher, at least for now, with what we know. So, the alerts have been doing very well this week. We were very prepared. I was a little nervous coming into the week after last week. Very tough week last week to start the year, but then it seemed like business as usual, continuing with the trend we saw last year. So I'm just keeping it as simple as that. The pullback got bought up. I have a lot of risk on to the long side. I'm going to continue to put risk on to the long side until the market tells me not to. But that's really it. If you got anything you want to take on the market, you can share the screen or take over whatever, and I'll do charts after.
Yeah, I got a couple things. So again, the last 2 weeks, we were talking about how there was this rotation to the non-interest rate sectors that aren't as heavily affected by interest rates. Consumer staples, healthcare, being two of the main ones. And we're seeing, with that follow through that we've seen from the market, from this little pull we had, healthcare was, the first sector for 2024 to test a new 52-week high. So today it ticked, the prior high from pretty much the beginning of last year. Finally ticked that, so it's good to see. Again, the only really key thing that, other than things you covered, is what's happening with rates, and are we going to stay in this breakdown stage? Which, if you're looking at this chart, basically this red line, this would be this stage 4 breakdown that rates have been in pretty much since the end of October, or do rates start to consolidate and base out here in this orange line, which would be a basing stage? So that's still to be, it still could easily, roll back over and continue down through lows, but it'll be interesting to see what these rates do. If we continue to break down, we should continue to see, some good equity pricing. If it does start to base, maybe we start to consolidate near these highs. But we did see, like you mentioned, with this very tiny pullback.
Real quick on rates. You had a really great take. This weekend in the big picture I saw, and we've seen with rates topping. I just want to point out your great point, because I agree with you. Rates topped and they started selling off, and then the equity run began. Then rates looked like they bottomed, and stocks kind of took a breather, took a pause, started to pull in a little bit. Right now, it's the most obvious trade on Wall Street. Rates if rates are ticking up, market's going down. Rates are ticking down, market's going up. That will end soon. Will end soon because it's just too obvious. You pointed that out. That's a really, really smart take. I like that a lot. It's not going to be as simple as that this year.
Yeah. And again, that's where it's like the more obvious, again, everything you just said with how the newsletter, and I agree. And, again, I wrote it. So
that's your point.
yeah, I agree. I think I disagree. But yes, that's the main thing. And we're just, we're taking the knowledge for the information for what it is, but eventually, again, that will become too obvious and it won't be as obviously correlated. So other than that, again, it's great to see the strength out of the healthcare sector. Again, you had some phenomenal call outs from the newsletter. So I'm going to pass it back to you. I only had one. I'll do one bad trade, which was this PDD. This was again, the first trade of the year. And I normally don't do a 15-minute chart, but I'll just show the frustration I had with this name. A lot of us have been keeping an eye on this 150 area. You can even see the alert where I had like, as much as you hate it, you have to buy it back. Was keeping an eye on this 150 area in PDD, and pretty much to end the new year and start the new year, I pretty much bought this 150 breakout end of the year, kind of pulls back in, settles back up again, doesn't shake me out. I add more when it starts to attempt that 150 breakout the next time I'm in, and I get pushed out. I literally mark the low. Like I follow the 15-minute rule and just pushed me out this day. And literally I like watched the price action. Like I watched it push through 144. I watched it flush me out immediately. Like you just see like bits coming back in, and it just off to the races. And I'm just like staring at it. I'm like, oh my God, like it was such a frustrating trade. But this is one of those ones where chart wise, it still looked great. I was just keeping it too tight. I didn't want to give it versus, the bigger pivot that need to, be given in the name. And when it had to set back up today, as frustrating as it was, I had to get back involved because this was probably the time where this name does finally start to push higher. So I sized down significantly. I definitely was way too heavy the first time around, especially on that second ad. So I have less stock this time. We'll see what happens with it. But this was just a very frustrating, literally buying the breakout, buying resistance, and getting stopped out at like capitulation at support for it to pretty much reverse right back. So I was just first trade of the new year, swing trade wise, was probably my most frustrating in a while, but still back in it. So you have very good trades from your trade. So
Timu, you know what Timu is?
Timu?
Timu, T-E-M-U. No. The website T-E-M-U. Timu.
Yeah, it's like the new Baba, right?
That's what PDD is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Shit. All right. Well,
There you
again,
go. And
I'm
just
the
Googled
biggest.
them. I Googled them, and their tagline is "Shop like a billionaire" because it's all like.
Well, so my biggest fan, my favorite stock is Baba, and it's just being killed this past year, in that same space. But I'll pass it back
It's
to
like
you.
if you type up the FXI Chinese stocks, they're just kind of.
They're all dead. Yeah, just all.
Yeah.
Not good. Not looking good. But still buy stuff from them every day. Let me send this screen share back to you. You can go over a lot of those alerts that were ripping this past couple days.
Yeah, so I mean the big winner is this SMCI. So we started on this one last week. We started down here. Someone called it out. I forget who it was. He pops into the chat and he had a similar trade with ARM. I got to look it up because I want to shout him out. It might be Joseph Park. It might be someone else, but it was someone like that. It was like they announced this day they were buying, and this is when the market was selling. This is last week, and this is what gave us the information that SMCI was ready.
Mm-hmm.
Market's selling like crazy right here, and it's selling risk assets. And SMCI is like the risk asset of all risk assets. It's very, very high beta. It's in that AI space. So the fact it wasn't going down with the market getting pummeled was all the information we needed to see right here at the support level. So we actually entered a little bit this day right here, last Thursday, and I actually sold some Friday. But then I was looking at the weekly chart, and it just it gave such a clear indicator for me. And what it did, the real thing that I saw. Do you remember that book about the stage analysis by Stan Weinstein?
Mm-hmm.
Stan Weinstein, stage
It's
analysis.
actually a phenomenal book. I got it right here.
Yeah, so he's the guy who invented the stage analysis. Yeah. This guy right here, great head of hair.
Yeah, phenomenal book. This is actually really for as much as we don't really like trading books. This was a really good one. The 4 stages.
Right. So the only moving average he uses on the weekly chart is the 30-week moving average. So that's the only one I really use on the weekly chart. And I typed it in. I looked at it. Looking at this chart, without this breakout, I was like, wow, this thing is perfectly hugging the weekly 30 moving average that we learned from the Stan Weinstein book. And I'm looking at it. It didn't have an inside week, but it had a very strong week, and it's still so relatively tight below this 299, 300. 299 was the trigger, last 2 weeks highs. So I knew that that 299 was a very, very important area. So I completely, I had 400 shares going in, but I breakout bought another 1,200 shares with a stop down here at down $7. And I took 10% off in front of 320. And then I took 40% of my trade off here at highs between 330 and this 350 area today, just because it's getting so far ahead of itself. I'm going to go back to some daily moving averages now. Now it needs these things to catch up and go sideways a bit before it can have that next leg. But the one thing I don't want to do is panic out of this stock, because it's clearly shown it's a market leader. It's shown huge strength. Today it had its highest volume day. Let me see this. Today, day 2 of the breakout, it just had its highest volume day since whatever this was at the beginning of November. And now that's like where we would look at late to the trade. So what's that telling me? This stock really, really wants to break these highs, but it's going to be a bitch. It can pull back to 320 and find support. It's going to be very difficult. So I'm telling anyone in the trade with me, take enough off that you've booked a ton of profit. I've already booked 40K in this name. So if I give the rest back, I've made 40K. If it wants to run another 100 points, I am going to, absolutely murder this name. But to be in for that move, you got to be able to wait for that consolidation, wait for the pullbacks. This thing's a strong 5-month base, and it looks like it's charging out with the volume. The sector's right. So, for me, I'm really trying to hold on to this one and wait through the consolidation phase for the next leg and really see that trade through. And then the most important chart in the market right now is this NVIDIA. Very obvious trade. I didn't buy this just because I hate buying obvious trades. But, my thinking with the SMCI is if NVIDIA is able to break out, it'll bring all these AI stocks with it. And that's exactly what happened. So most important chart in the market is this NVIDIA. As long as this thing is breaking new highs, and if it goes into a breakout stage, I really find it hard to believe that the market is able to sell off, because this will bring semiconductors up with it. That's what led the market last year, and it's looking like we're still continuing on that trend. The number one thing a market tries to do when it's in an uptrend is get you out. And that's what last week's selling looks like so far. Things could reverse. I don't know where things are going from here. But, the signal we got on the S&P is, it came down into the 21-day and it's hooked up higher. It didn't give a lot of opportunities, didn't give that huge pullback that a lot of people were probably looking for. And now the chase is on once again. We'll see where we go from here. I don't know. I don't have huge takes on the market. I'm just taking it a day by a time. But another one that's set up really nice for me is this Microsoft. Now this one is going to, again, need the market. It's going to, it officially breaks out at 378, but I have a huge position. I bought through these highs, and this is trading in a nutshell. This is 100% trading in a nutshell. This is Friday. Here, this is the 50-day. Let me get it up. Okay, so we see the 50-day here, another important moving average for the daily time frame. Market's selling off last week, and leaving the market last week, I'm pretty bearish. I get short of Microsoft into the close. Then weekend comes, I start hitting the charts like crazy, and I see how much strength is out there, and I see names like SMCI getting bid up while the market's selling, and that immediately changes my perspective on the market. So it's very important to always do typing up a ton of names, because you get a perspective on the internals of the market. So now I flipped my position. I had a little bit short. I flipped it. I got $1 million long now, and I got a great position. I'm risking 5K in a name that if it breaks out, I can make 40. So risk rewards right here. And if this wants to break out, again, this is like another thing. If this breaks out, I don't see the market able to sell off. If Microsoft, NVIDIA, if these things are breaking highs on volume, we'll see. This one still has this 379 battle to go. We'll see. So overall, taking things one name at a time. There's a lot of strength out there, a lot of research to be done, but overall, we're looking good. There's a few things I like to the short side. I like this coin short. So Bitcoin ETF is about to get approved. Most obvious, this run up is the run up to the Bitcoin ETF getting approved. That's by the rumor. This is the most obvious sell the news situation I've seen in a really long time. Then I scrolled over to Twitter. I wanted to see what people are saying about coin. They're talking about buying coin now into the Bitcoin ETF approval. That gives me more conviction that this thing is going to absolutely dump tomorrow. So if it ticks 146 below this pivot, I think it's down to this 130, 125 fast. So I like that name short. I like this Affirm short too. Huge run up, change of composure selling. Can't hold these moving averages. If it wants to push lower, that one's got a lot of daylight too below. And then that's where I'll look to take profit here down to this 35. What I really like going tomorrow is CEG. This is a utility name. It hasn't done anything because we've seen the risk assets get all the love to begin this year. But just taking it from a chart play, just pure chart basis, this thing is holding the 100-day moving average, super tight consolidation. Look how tight it's gotten on the weekly. And then, you know, we look at this one, it has strong days. It runs like $7 it had on this day. That's what I usually like to look at. I look at breakout days, see how much they can run. What's it doing right now? High to low is $2. So if it breaks out of this range, I anticipate these, you know, $7 type breakout days to come back. That's what I'm positioning myself for. So really like this one, 117.25 tomorrow, just against this 115 area. That's a really nice setup. Other than that, you know, there's a few names I like. I like this Sell H, but again, it had the reversal yesterday off these lows. So I don't know if this will give me a chance. It needs to get really, really tight for me to be involved. And another name I'm going to give a look tomorrow, this ARM. Now, this is only because we're seeing semis do what they're doing. So normally this would need a lot more consolidation from me. But again, listening to the market, it really wants these semis, this AI trade. If this is able to take out these highs through 73, 73.25, this could have another run like this right here. So I'm watching that one for the short term, but taking a day at a time, taking a trade at a time, only interested in trades where I can, you know, load up on stock with really tight risk coming off support, not really trying to chase names, you know, recognize we got 2 huge days out of the market. I don't have a huge expectation for tomorrow. So, you know, that's it. We got a great bid this week. You know, market gods are treating us nicely. Let's take it a day at a time and hope it continues. That's all I can say.
You're dropping some bombs there, Shake. I'm like writing down some of these trades myself. So
Nice. Don't worry, I'll let you know.
all right, man. I think we wrapped it up. You killed it.
All right, good stuff. All right, so you guys got any questions for us? Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if that's it, we'll see you guys next week.